Some doubt the cash aid will reach them. More from Amor Santos.
These jeepney drivers are waiting with bated breath for the fuel subsidy from the government. They say their take-home has been cut in half by the rising fuel costs. With 200 pesos left after a day's work, they hold on to the Pantawid Pasada cards.
Yung card ng Tawid Pasada, intact na sa amin. Kaya hindi naman kakalaman yun kung hindi lalagyan ng LTFRB. Ilang araw lang yun kung ilalagay namin sa diesel. Pero kahit pa paano, malaking tulong na rin sa amin.
According to the LTFRB, the 6,500 peso fuel subsidy is now on its way to drivers' Pantawid Pasada cards.
156,000 na PUJ kasi sila yung meron ng cards. We will call out all the rest of the operators to process their cards naman po.
LTFRB says there are more than 377,000 target beneficiaries for now, but this can still go up. They include drivers of public utility vehicles, taxis, tricycles, and ride-hailing apps or delivery services. But tricycle drivers and riders may receive less.
Looking at the modes, mas malaki naman talaga ang krudo na gagastusin sa bus, sa PUJ, sa yung mga higher modes compared sa tricycles at sa motorcycles po sa mga deliveries.
But Arnolfo Cores is doubtful. He says UV Express drivers like him also took a hit when the pandemic struck, with no help in sight.
UV Express po talaga na pag-iwanan. Kung ano po ang jeep, ganun din po kami. Naghatid naman po kami ng mga pasahero. Lahat ng legality na binibigay ng inaatang sa amin ng LTFRB, ginagawa po namin.
The train law provided fuel vouchers only for franchise holders of public utility jeepneys. The 2022 General Appropriations Act expanded the program. There's not much satisfaction from jeepney drivers too. While some welcome the fuel subsidy, others prefer to continue fighting for a fare increase or even stage a transport strike.
Pumunta kami doon ng LTFRB, madaming requirements, mahirap kunin yung mahirap kumuha.
Tsatsaga lang po kami. Pero pagka tumaas pa po yung krudo, hindi na po kami para bumiyahe po.
Siyempre, hindi naman namin pwedeng hihinto ang biyahe. Paano naman yung ating mga commuter, mga mananakay? Wala. Kaya nangyayari sa amin, bawi-bawi lang.
Amor Santos, CNN Philippines.
The Agriculture Department is also set to release the fuel subsidy for farmers and fisherfolk any day now. But will the 3,000 peso aid be enough to shoulder the higher cost of production and transportation? Stanley Gajeta has that story.
64-year-old farmer Apolinario de Armas felt a sigh of relief when he learned about the 3,000 peso fuel discount voucher from the Department of Agriculture amid the rising fuel costs. He uses 10 liters of diesel to power the plow in a 2,000 square meter farmland.
Makakatulong din yun. Siyempre, wala kaming hanap buhay na yun ang inaasahan namin. Ang inaanin namin sa bukid hindi sapat.
We get the same reaction from 24-year-old fisherman Carmelo Aguas, who needs 2 liters of diesel to operate his motorized fishing boat.
Malaking bagay na po yun para sa aming mga trabador, mga ingisda. Makakatipid kami sa kakarga ng diesel. Medyo madadagdagan yung kita namin, ganun.
Special Provision number 20 of the 2022 General Appropriations Act provide for a 500 million peso fuel subsidy program that will benefit Filipino farmers and fisherfolk nationwide.
According to the Agriculture Department, the discount will help reduce production and transport costs of major agricultural products. Regional field units will issue the fuel vouchers to qualified beneficiaries. Authorities have a list of rice farmers, including those who own farming machines, either individually or through a farmers association or cooperatives. The Fishery Bureau likewise has names of fisherfolk owning small to medium-sized motorboats across the country. About 150,000 farmers and fisherfolk will benefit from the subsidy.
We're about to receive yung kopya ng SARO galing sa DBM at nakikipag-ugnayan nga kami sa DBP para doon sa card issuance. So in the next few days ay masisimulan natin yung release.
But fisherfolk organization Pamalakaya believes a production subsidy worth 15,000 pesos is far better than a one-time fuel discount.
Nabugbog na kami doon sa pagtaas ng presyo ng gasolina. Kaya kulang to kulang. Yung 15,000 na embedded pa rin namin magamit pagbili ng mga gamit ng pangisda.
The Agriculture Department assures there will be more subsidy programs amid fuel price hikes. Another tranche is expected in the next quarter.
Ito lang yung unang tranche at ina-expect natin na by month of April, in-approve naman ng Economic Development Cluster na magkaroon ng additional na pondo about 600 million pesos on top of the 500 million na nakapaloob sa General Appropriations ngayong taon.
Stanley Gaete, CNN Philippines.
The Budget Department defends the economic team's decision to retain the excise tax on oil. Budget spokesperson Rolando Toledo says lowering the tax will only lead to revenue losses. Economic managers believe the grant of subsidy to the transport sector is enough for now. Higher fuel excise taxes were imposed under the tax reform or train law.
To be more specific po, the measures that will have to be significantly have a negative impact po dito sa ating revenue generation with projected loss of around 117 billion in revenues or around 0.5% of GDP. And eventually, if we maintain our disbursement program, it will result to a bigger deficit. Hence, the DDBCC po ay recommending that provided yung tinatawag natin targeted relief assistance instead through a social protection program.
Labor groups are bent on getting a pay hike amid soaring prices of oil and basic goods. An employers group, however, tells workers to manage their expectations. The full story from our senior correspondent, David Santos.
Members of a coalition of labor unions marching in Manila on Friday to demand increases in salaries. The last time the government implemented a new wage order was in November 2018, approving a 25 peso pay hike in NCR and setting the minimum wage at 537 pesos. In November 2019, months before the pandemic struck, there was a petition to raise it to 750.
Kasi that time, ginagamit nila yung pandemic para hindi magdagdag ng sahod ng mga manggagawa.
But with the soaring oil prices being worsened by the Russia-Ukraine conflict and its domino effect on basic goods, labor groups insist it is only fair and logical to revive the 750 minimum wage appeal.
Medyo affected yung buying capacity ng ating mga workers. So, inactivate ko agad yung ating wage board.
Kailangan yung minimum na sahod, maabot niya yung decent living standards, mabigay niya yung katumbas ng labor productivity ng mga manggagawa, at higit sa lahat, maibsan yung mga nararanasan ng mamamayan.
But the employers group ECOP is citing a litany of reasons why raising wages now is not a good idea. First, it will only lead to wider pay gaps since majority of workers belong to the informal sector and do not earn minimum wage. Second, how about the underemployed who will grant them pay increases? And third, about 90% of the nation's businesses belong to the micro, small, and medium enterprises, many of which are still trying to recover from the pandemic.
I'm not saying we are not to increases. It is up to the wage board to do that. I'm just warning people not to create expectation.
The Trade Union Congress of the Philippines is also set to submit a separate petition to the wage board next week. The Partido Manggagawa, on the other hand, is asking Congress to pass what it calls a long overdue 100 peso legislated wage hike. A labor leader running for the Senate has an appeal to incumbent officials.
Hinahamon natin yung mga nakaluklok pa sa kasalukuyan. Sa Hunyo pa ho magtatapos ang inyong tungkulin at responsibilidad, accountability sa ating mga manggagawa at mamamayan na umaksyon naman kayo.
David Santos, CNN Philippines.
It is day 2 of yet another massive rollout meant to immunize Filipinos against COVID-19. Unlike the previous rounds, more satellite vaccination sites have been set up this time as fewer people come to get their shots in major inoculation hubs. Caroline Bonkin has the details.
About 15,000 devotees visit Quiapo Church on Fridays. It's a melting pot of people from different places, and health workers are taking advantage of this to increase vaccine coverage. On one side of the church grounds, there's a satellite COVID-19 vaccination site offering primary doses for those aged 12 and older and booster shots for adults. The vaccination drive here in Quiapo Church will be held every Friday. Most of the churchgoers and vendors who got vaccinated said they hardly have time to visit a vaccination site.
Magandang pagkakataon ngayon, kaya sinamantala na namin. Malaking tulong kasi hindi na kami mahihirapan Pagkatapos ng magpapakuna, andyan na ang pagtitinda namin.
Yung time na hindi ako makapagpa-booster sa Valenzuela, it is because busy ako sa trabaho, nakuha ko rito. Sabay ng pagsaserve ko, nakapagpa-booster ako.
Ilalapit na po natin yung mga bakuna sa kanila para hindi naman po kumain ng malaking oras sa kanila.
Though Metro Manila already reached the target vaccine coverage, 126,000 senior citizens and over 1.5 million adolescents and children remain unvaccinated, while over 5 million adults here are due for booster. Vaccinations also continue in cinemas and made available in workplaces like call center companies. Health workers from the Philippine National Police and the Armed Forces of the Philippines serve as vaccinators. Clinics are also offering COVID-19 vaccines for free. A day ahead of the National Vaccination Day, health workers in Barangay Horseshoe, Quezon City did house-to-house vaccination. But this plan didn't push through in other provinces.
Because meron tayong low pressure area sa other regions, nakita natin na may mga lugar na binabaha at may mga lugar na umuulan.
Galvez says it's too early to talk about alert level 0. Focus should still be more on further lowering infections and increasing our protection against the coronavirus. Caroline Bongkin, CNN Philippines.
Beginning next month, the country will open its doors to all foreign tourists. The Tourism Department says the Interagency Task Force for Emerging Infectious Diseases has decided to lift the arrival quota for unvaccinated passengers in all ports of entry. They only need to present a negative RT-PCR test taken 48 hours before departure from point of origin or a negative antigen test taken 24 hours from departure. The resumption of visa issuances by Philippine embassies and consulates will also start on April 1st. The Education Department sets aside almost 1 billion pesos to help schools holding in-person classes. In a virtual media briefing, Education Undersecretary Annalyn Sevilla says the agency has released a total of more than 977 million pesos to public schools nationwide. As of March 10th, over 6,000 elementary and high schools have held in-person classes. Also, for the first time since 2020, DepEd is allowing schools in areas under alert levels 1 and 2 to hold in-person graduation or recognition rites. Still on the COVID-19 pandemic, the Food and Drug Administration has approved the emergency use authorization for Pfizer's oral antiviral drug Paxlovid. On the FDA website, Paxlovid is advised for adult patients with mild to moderate symptoms who are at risk for progression to severe COVID-19. When we come back, Russian troops resume their advance to Kiev with the 40-mile-long convoy spreading out near Ukraine's capital on day 16 of the war. And 59 days before the Filipino votes, tech giant Google launches a page featuring top election searches. Details next.
SMC San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Gama sa Davao para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay. SMC San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, Tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Gama sa Davao para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay.
Or any other weapons of mass destruction were developed on my land. The whole world knows that.
As Russian troops inch forward toward the capital of Kyiv amid heavy fighting, Ukrainian forces say they defeated a Russian tank regiment in Brovary Thursday, eliminating its commander.
We're doing everything to save our people in the cities that the enemy just wants to destroy.
President Joe Biden will announce Friday that the U.S., G7, and the EU will call to revoke Russia's most favored nation trade status, according to sources familiar with the issue.
I think the American people know how important this fight is. I think they know that as painful as the price is today, the costs are going to be higher if we do not act now to deal with this tyrant.
Although the U.S. supports Ukraine's efforts, the White House declined to specify any so-called red line Russia could cross that would lead to U.S. involvement on the ground.
It's important to realize that it's not in the United States' interest to get into a conflict with another nuclear superpower. That is and could be the beginning of World War III.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Ukraine says about 100,000 people have been rescued through evacuation corridors in the past 2 days. Two former COMELEC commissioners called on the poll body to quickly resolve all pending cases, including those against presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos. 6 cases against Marcos are either on appeal or up for decision before the COMELEC.
More than 30 days just to release a decision, that's mediocre. Cases na, dispose na nila yan. Masyado nang maraming kumita dyan.
Tingin ko ang priority dyan, ang daming mga pending cases, especially those that are necessary, or those that need to be resolved prior to election. They must free themselves from any political connections or partisan connections and be independent in the exercise of their function.
Meanwhile, the former commissioners believe newly appointed COMELEC Chairman Saidamen Pangarungan, as well as Commissioners George Garcia and Amy Neri, are qualified for their posts. Former Commissioner Louis Guia says if there are doubts about the credibility and independence of these officials, the public may ask them to inhibit from cases with perceived conflicts of interest. Commissioner Garcia had already inhibited from the election cases of his former clients, who include 4 presidential candidates. Now, on the campaign trail, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno visited Nueva Ecija, where he alluded to 2 of his rivals. He questioned the revelation that Bongbong Marcos decided to run for president while watching the Marvel movie Ant-Man, pointing out the story was about a thief. Moreno also took a swipe at the term "nasa laylayan ng lipunan," which was Vice President Leni Robredo's 2016 campaign slogan. For Moreno, the slogan seems to look down on the poor. Marcos and Robredo have yet to respond to Moreno's statements. Senator Ping Lacson lashing out at the Robredo camp for allegedly peddling disinformation about him, as he insists he did not red tag supporters who attended her campaign rally in Cavite last week. In Zambales, Lacson said her camp should not spread fake news if it also decries being a victim of disinformation. Robredo's spokesperson Barry Gutierrez had said red tagging masked as concern is a, quote, new low. In response to Lacson's statement that he is concerned about a supposed alliance between Robredo's side and communist groups. Thousands of supporters welcomed Robredo and her running mate Kiko Pangilinan in the province of Negros Occidental. Robredo dropped by the Community Learning Hub in Himamaylan, which is part of her office's pandemic response that provides gadgets and internet access to students. Robredo won by around 600,000 votes against Marcos in Negros Occidental during the 2016 VP race. Marcos and his running mate, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte, campaigned in the province of Laguna again. Laguna Governor and supporter Ramil Hernandez accompanied the tandem and their senatorial bets. Marcos won more votes against Robredo in Laguna during the 2016 VP race. Duterte told her supporters in Laguna it was under her administration that Davao City became the 4th most competitive and the 8th richest city. She adds she cleared the city government's debt of over 1 billion pesos that she inherited when she assumed office. Her predecessor, none other than her father, President Rodrigo Duterte. Senator Manny Pacquiao slams the Finance Department's move to remove perks of business process outsourcing companies that continue to allow work-from-home arrangements. Pacquiao says the work-from-home setup can help ease traffic congestion, save on fuel, and stabilize fuel prices. And Labor leader Leody de Guzman and running mate Walden Bello begin their campaign in Mindanao. Get to know some first-time senatorial candidates as we bring you the CNN Philippine Senatorial Forum. On our 8th forum, former Ifugao Representative Teddy Bagilat, former Eastern Samar Governor Lutgardo Barbo, and labor lawyer Luke Espiritu will address pressing problems and issues facing the nation. Will they make it to your list? That's happening this Sunday, March 13 at 7 in the evening with our senior anchor Rico Hizon, only here on CNN Philippines. Tech giant Google launches a search trends page for topics and searches related to the Philippine elections. The new platform shows how much a presidential or vice presidential candidate is being searched, as well as the regions where the interest is coming from. As of this Friday, presidential candidate Leni Robredo and vice presidential bet Sara Duterte are the most searched in the past week. Google News Initiative says the new tool helps put political trends in perspective, but the company reiterates it is not a substitute for polling data. Straight ahead, things are looking up for Filipino pole vaulter EJ Obiena, who has joined the lineup of the Philippine Olympic Committee for the Southeast Asian Games. And exciting things also await Nintendo fans with his new theme park arriving at the Universal Studios Hollywood soon. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Mega star Sharon Cuneta has made it clear she is not pleased with Salvador Panelo's use of her hit song during his senatorial campaign. The former chief presidential legal counsel sang Sana'y Wala ng Wakas during Sara Duterte's event yesterday. Cuneta lashed back online saying Panelo was not allowed to use the song. In a statement, the senatorial bet said he used the track to honor his late son with Down syndrome, adding that Viva Records gave him permission to use. In sports, Olympic pole vaulter EJ Obiena has been formally included in the Philippine Olympic Committee's roster for the Southeast Asian Games in May, but Obiena's place in the Vietnam event is still up in the air since PATAFA said its endorsement will depend on the result of their mediation process. The POC president said on Wednesday The World Athletics body has not confirmed if the committee's endorsement alone guarantees Obiena's participation. And volleyball fans can soon get tickets for the Week 2 of the FIVB Volleyball Nations League's matches right here at home. Passes go on sale April 18th. Tournaments will take place at the Smart Araneta Coliseum in Quezon City on June 14th to the 19th and June 21st to the 26th. After over 4 decades of cheering kids up on Sesame Street, Emilio Delgado, who played Fix-It shop owner Luis, died yesterday. He was 81 years old. Delgado held the record for longest-running role for a Mexican-American in a U.S. TV series. Now, for those planning to take a trip to Universal Studios Hollywood, get ready for a new section that looks like a video game come to life. The amusement park announced it will open Super Nintendo World by 2023. Based on its first installment, which is in Universal Studios Japan, we can expect rides and other attractions inspired by Mario Kart. And that is it for now. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pio Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
RPN, Radio Philippines Network Incorporated, DXPO. 13.62 sa dial sa inyong radyo. RPN DXKO, ang Radyo Ronda dili sa Dakbayan sa Cagayan de Oro. Sibiyahan na may galaon sa katawhan, andang serbisyo sa tanan. Ang RPN DXKO Radyo Ronda sakop sa KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
A smile can tell you a lot about someone. It offers clues on what they're feeling, their general demeanor, and it can even tell you a lot about their overall health. For example, halitosis or bad breath can be a sign of poor oral hygiene or even more serious gum disease. The way we swallow our food, something we take for granted, can have an effect on the alignment of our teeth. This is why we need to give our oral health the best care possible, as it is a lifelong commitment. We'll talk about proper oral hygiene habits and procedures for good oral health on the program today. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. Good oral health plays a part in how we look as well as how we feel. Now, our guests are here today to give us effective tips in keeping our teeth and gums strong and healthy. With us is Dr. Lucila Bernardo. She's a dentist from the Bernardo Dental Office. We're also joined by Dr. Maria Cristina Forres, who is an orthodontist from the Makati Medical Center. Now, today we're going to be talking about our teeth, which is one of the, if not part of our body. Now, just because our teeth are very strong doesn't mean na hindi dapat ito alagaan. Because in the Philippines, oral disease continues to be a serious public health issue. Now, the Department of Health reported that over 90% of Filipinos have tooth decay and over 70% have gum disease. I'll start the discussion with Dr. Bernardo. What do you think are some of the factors that nagko-contribute dito sa poor oral hygiene situation among Filipinos?
Number one, we have so many poor people in the country, especially here in the city, that rather than buying toothbrush and toothpaste, they would rather buy food that will be sufficient for their tummy. But comparing to those people in the faraway distances wherein they have a backyard gardening, you will notice, and I have noticed, that they have good teeth, even if they don't brush their teeth.
But we can't stress enough that oral health needs to be prioritized. What are some of the primary causes kaya ng tooth decay naman, Dr. Bernardo, which is common na nakikita natin sa mga bata?
The diet of the children here, especially in the rich people, they can eat anything they want. And then they don't really see to it that their children are brushing their teeth properly. So that's one reason why children now have more cavities than before.
But speaking of children, lately pediatricians nowadays are having a good professional relationship with dentists, especially when it comes to children and preventing early problems with their teeth. Dr. Forrest, why is this so?
A lot of pediatricians are now aware to refer children as young as 1 year old to the dentist. Not because of the teeth, but we need to educate the parent also, especially if it's their first child, that the oral hygiene of the child is very important and to take care of the deciduous or baby teeth.
Maybe a lot of parents nowadays do not overly emphasize on the care of the baby teeth of their child because sa utak nila, Dr. Forrest, mawawala din naman ito. What is the risk with this line of thinking?
I actually hear that very often na baby teeth lang naman yan, hindi naman yan kailangan. It actually is very important because it serves as a guide for the eruption of the permanent teeth. So early on, you need to take care of the baby teeth so that you also have healthy positioning of the permanent teeth.
Now I'd like to address a common concern for a lot of individuals, and that is halitosis or bad breath. Ultimately, this affects a person's confidence and quality of life. Dr. Bernardo, what are some of the factors behind itong bad breath?
One is your health condition that can elicit in the mouth. And of course, poor oral hygiene, if you don't do proper brushing and flossing, and also the food you eat, like for example, garlic, that will be very strong. And even if you brush your teeth, it will elicit still in your breath.
Every person is unique. Your smile is a big part of the whole picture of what makes you special. But what is a normal smile? We hear of an overbite, an underbite, too much teeth showing, too much of the gum line showing, or not enough. Dr. Forrest, can you explain to us what an ideal smile should look like?
An ideal smile is unique to each person. Basically, it should follow function first. The teeth should be able to chew the food that we eat or mastication. Secondly, it should look pleasant when you smile. One person cannot have the same smile as the other. So each dentist should individualize the smile for each person.
Dr. Bernardo, what should we know when it comes to brushing our teeth? Paano ba yung tamang paraan ng pagsipilyo? And is flossing just as important as brushing our teeth?
You have to floss your teeth very well so that the big chunk of food that are caught in between your teeth are removed first, and then you go to toothbrushing. And you have to use a soft bristle to avoid hurting your gum. Because brushing, especially at the back area, you have to close your mouth a little so you can really manage to clean the inside part and also the outside part near the cheek.
Now, when it comes to toothpaste, there are so many to choose from. Now, what is important though is that it has fluoride. Dr. Bernardo, tell us more about this because there's been some misconceptions about fluoride in the past. Is this one of the most important things to look for when it comes to toothpaste?
It really helps your enamel, no? But there are patients who are allergic to it. So you have to tell them also to check on what toothpaste they should use. I always recommend them, if they have allergies, to buy a small packet first or a small tube to try it, which one will help with them. Even if fluoride is very useful, but if they're allergic to it, then you have to tell them to stop it.
Maintaining your oral health is a lifelong commitment. When we return, we'll talk about common procedures done nowadays for healthy teeth and gums. You're watching MedTalk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk, where caring is our calling. We all know that good oral health can prevent cavities as well as gum disease, but it can also prevent more serious diseases, costly procedures, and of course, it keeps your smile bright. The key is understanding the benefits and the limitations of a certain procedure. Now, brushing as well as flossing your teeth is a sure way to keep your teeth clean. but it can't match the way your teeth will sparkle and shine after having your teeth cleaned at the dental office. Dr. Bernardo, how much cleaner can someone's teeth get with a teeth cleaning session at the dentist's chair?
We really see to it that all the plaque, especially under the gums, are completely removed. And we explain it also to the patient why we have to do it, because sometimes it's really painful, no? And sometimes we give anesthesia to do it well. And we always tell them to visit us more regularly, especially if they are plaque builder, at least every 3 months or 4 months rather than every 6 months.
Could you briefly describe to us what plaque is? Bakit ito masama at hindi ba ito natatanggal with regular toothbrushing?
Not really. No, they are hardening on the surface of the teeth caused by our food intake and the saliva. Some saliva are more acidic and they're easily formed plaque. And we really have to help patients to remove that.
Please explain to us what braces are basically. What's their purpose? How do they help in oral health care?
Braces basically are removable or fixed appliances that move your teeth if they are not functioning properly. So if you have overlapping teeth, it interferes with good gum health. So you're going to have to move the teeth with the use of fixed appliance, which are the brackets, or a removable appliance, which are retainers.
Dr. Flores, when a parent hears those 4 words, your child needs braces, many parents may get anxious because of the cost the procedure might entail. Are there any less costly alternatives to braces that are still as effective?
When a parent comes to the orthodontist, it's most of the time too late. They bring their child at 13 or 15 years old thinking that they need to have all the permanent teeth erupted already. Actually, it's best to bring them early, 7 years old or 8 years old, for an initial orthodontic screening. Because at that age, you can actually redirect bone growth. You can actually help the eruption of certain teeth, which will avoid costly fixed brackets.
Is having a perfect white smile the only purpose of getting veneers? What are some of the pros and cons to having this procedure done?
It is much cheaper than braces, no? Because we can straighten, and especially those discolored teeth that cannot be corrected by bleaching can be corrected with veneers. It's really beautiful once you're done, but you have to explain it very well to the patient, the ups and downs of veneer. Once you have the veneer, you cannot just bite like corn on the cob or munch on chicken bones, or things like that. And I always require them to wear a mouth guard.
Dr. Bernardo, when it comes to veneers, is there anything permanent done with the person who wants to get veneers? If several years down the road, they just feel na, okay, I don't want these veneers anymore, and they just remove it. Is that all that's needed?
No, it's impossible. Once you have the veneer, your teeth are already ruined because we shave off your enamel. At least we shave it like 1 millimeter, so you reduce the enamel. That's why you develop hypersensitivity to cold and even food that you take.
Now, another common procedure is teeth whitening. Dr. Flores, I'd like to ask you about this because teeth whitening can also be achieved with a visit to the dental office, but I'd like to compare and contrast this with those do-it-yourself kits that can be purchased online. Are there any risks to doing teeth whitening at home?
There are many brands in the market which use different materials. So varies actually based on the percentage of the whitening solution. So it's always best to consult your dentist. Never do it on your own.
How important is it that someone or a child who needs braces have it done with a truly qualified orthodontist?
You can't just put braces. So there was, I think, a trend recently wherein you buy your brackets online and then you put it on yourself. So you have to understand bone movement and tooth movement. You can't just put braces just because you feel like you can do it on your own. So you need to go to a qualified orthodontist for you to be able to achieve what you are looking for in a perfect smile.
Now, brushing your teeth and flossing daily are essential in keeping your teeth and gums clean and strong. And having procedures done by qualified health professionals can get that extra step. But it takes more to maintain your oral health. More on this when we return. Your health is our mission here on MedTalk Health Talk. We'll be right back. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. Today, we're talking about practical and effective ways to maintain proper oral hygiene, and as a result, avoid serious health issues and costly dental procedures. Now, we spoke about brushing our teeth and flossing daily to maintain oral health. But Dr. Bernardo, what are some other practical tips that you could give us in order to prevent oral problems in the future?
It's really necessary that you brush your teeth very well, but not only brushing, but you have really to use dental floss. And if you can avoid sweets, there are times that you're just so lazy, and after eating those sweets, it stagnates in between your teeth, and that's the cause why you develop cavities.
Bakit twice a year kailangan makita ang isang dentista?
Your dentist actually can catch starting cavities early. If they catch it early, it's such a minimal procedure. You don't need to undergo costly procedures in the long run. So if you see your dentist at least once or twice a year, you'll be assured that you'll be able to take care of your teeth properly.
When we're out and about, ano ba yung dapat nakasama sa toiletry kit or oral hygiene kit na essential?
Even if you travel, even if you're inside the airplane for 13 hours, you have to really floss and brush your teeth. So you have to carry that essentials. Your toothpaste that you're not allergic with, your dental floss, and your toothbrush.
When it comes to braces now, a lot of people pretty much know that you have braces on or you're undergoing braces. And for some children during that stage in their life, this can be very awkward. Kumbaga, no? What's the latest technology when it comes to braces? Is it less visible now? What is used nowadays?
There are aligners, which are more or less new right now, but I would not recommend it for all cases. They're there for simple cases, but I would still recommend fixed brackets. But if you are thinking about braces, you would need to consult your orthodontist early on. So there are times wherein you can avoid having braces altogether.
How young can a person have their braces attached?
Normally, I have my patients see me around 7 or 8 years old just to be able to assess and look at their bone growth, but no fixed appliances yet. If necessary, I can redirect their bone growth to actually remove the need for the braces. But if it is necessary, then the braces come in around the later part of the teenager's life, and it usually lasts a very short time.
Now, Dr. Bernardo, I'd like to ask you, we've been talking about brushing our teeth for the show, no? But we've sort of neglected the gums a little bit. What are some symptoms that our viewers will be able to notice na kailangan nilang pa-check yung gums nila to prevent any form of gum disease?
You can develop gum disease, and that is swelling of the gums. You will notice also bleeding of the gums. So it is a coordination between the medical practitioner and the dentist to advise the patient to see us.
How are dentists nowadays adapting to the pandemic?
We provide so many new things in the office to be sure that they are safe when they enter our office, and we see to it that they also have been vaccinated and haven't visited any or have been in association with any patient with COVID.
Now, before we go, Dr. Forrest, do you have any advice, any tips for our viewers, especially those who are thinking of doing any procedures such as braces, teeth whitening, or even veneers?
My tip is don't be afraid of your dentist. If you go to the dentist early, we can avoid a lot of the painful procedures and a lot of the costly procedures. If you have children, bring them in early, so at least they are already accustomed to seeing the dentist on a regular basis for their cleaning.
And Dr. Bernardo, do you have any tips or advice for the viewers, especially when it comes to oral health, teeth care?
I would advise them to visit us regularly, depending if you are a healthy person or a sick person. Sick person needs more visit, but healthy person needs at least twice a year to see to it that their gums are well and their teeth are stable.
Remember, keeping your mouth clean affects more than just your teeth and gums. Reduce your risk of cavities, gum disease, and other problems by taking the time every day to care for your oral health. Thank you, Dr. Lucila Bernardo and Dr. Cristina Flores, for being with us today and sharing your tips and insights. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and thank you for watching MedTalk Health Talk. We'll see you again next time.